Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. So I've talked many times about corruption within the military. I've talked about a lot of the things I'm going to cover now, but it looks like it's really coming out. So remember how I've said that when someone brings up a truth, leaks it out, it opens a door for others. So it's like that door, gets kicked open and somebody else kicks it, shines a light in there, nothing happens. So other people are like, nothing happened. So more people come, shine lights, and more information comes out. So we need to basically um, go through our military and cleanse it, right? There are there's some problems within our military, and they're being exposed, right? So I've said that there are secret groups in the military. They've been there for a long time, right? For a very long time. Drug trafficking, human trafficking. This is not anything new, but it's starting to come to a head. When I was in Afghanistan working for the CIA, we knew the Taliban had been very much involved in drug trafficking, and that when we came in, we took that away from them. Well, who do you think picked that up? The U.S. The U.S. wanted that, just like the U.S. wanted it in Vietnam, right? So we can see these massive drug spikes during time frames where there's wars and so forth, or conflicts. Look down in South America, the cocaine that was coming up from South America, all the Colombian cartels and all that stuff. We were going against them, and of course they're flying them right into Mina Airport, where the Clintons, Bill Clinton was the governor, and so the CIA was running it through there. The CIA ran it from Vietnam through San Francisco and other places. From Afghanistan, the CIA ran it through Cuba and in. So Cuba, a lot of people think that Cuba was basically communist, and no, the CIA controlled Cuba. They controlled everything in Cuba, and they kept the people down. They kept the people dumb, kind of like what they love to do to the United States. So, and that's what they're trying to do, quite frankly. So we have to defeat the CIA. The CIA is a criminal organization. It is one of the biggest mafias in the world, and not as big as the the Jesuits. So the Jesuits are the biggest in the world, and then you have varying levels. Kazarian Mafia, the drug cartels down in South America, which we're seeing the biggest cartel, leader is Venezuelan Maduro. So we just recently put a $50 million bounty on his head. Now we're starting to go down to the Caribbean. President Trump has asked Sheinbaum, Mexican president, hey, we want to start going after cartels. And she's like, no. They will kill me. Right? So she's not actually saying that outwardly, but that's the deal. They will kill her, right? They put her in power, and they will kill her if she gets out of line. So we've seen that. I saw that when we went into get Noriega in Panama, when I was the SEAL Team 6 Panama invasion. We started to see that was all drug related, right? CIA drug related, right? So the criminals basically have to be taken down, and we're starting to see now through. I just saw recently there was a Alex Jones. He had a guest on. I think I remember his name. Billionaire. Anyway, this guy's talking about how the head of the CIA, the seventh floor. It's always the seventh floor of the Pentagon, seventh floor of the CIA, seventh floor of the NSA. Some kind of little thing going on there with that number 7, right? So the seventh floor of the CIA, the headquarters and so forth, they're involved with the CIA, and they're the ones that are basically controlling all of the elections around the world. Now, I saw that when I was in Afghanistan. I was like concerned that the the baddies would get back in power because there was more of them. So you would think that they were going to get back in power, but I was told by the head of the CIA station chief there's like, no, we've got this. So I was like, oh, you're controlling the vote, okay. So I was like, wow, good thing they don't do that in America. So we've seen this corruption in a lot of different ways, and it runs deep through a lot of different organizations. But now we're going to start to see the CIA Mars jump room. Yeah, so there's all kind of you go down all kind of rabbit holes. Max Monroe, definitely. So let me highlight that. That's a good one. So the CIA Mars jump room. So we have so many things, so many different levels. Now, I can tell you from experience, if you start to go into their alien side of things, Majestic 12 will put a bounty on you and take you out, right? So fortunately, I didn't get taken out, but so I've learned the hard way, right? So I backed off and I just revealed a little bit here and there, rebuilt my life after they destroyed it and tried to kill me several times. So you can't go down some of these rabbit holes, but now we're going down the rabbit hole that there is massive involvement, even at the highest levels. Tier 1 is basically anti-terrorist units like Delta and SEAL Team 6, which I was SEAL Team 6. I remember we worked with Delta. I love Delta guys are great. They're like us, highly professional. We kind of, elbow each other and joke each other every now and then, but there's still that professionalism. So it's sad to me to see that there is, seems to be some very dark elements that are happening and dark members that are happening in the Delta, and that's being exposed. So is it happening in SEAL Team 6? I don't know. I can't tell you. I haven't been at SEAL Team 6 in a very long time. I don't talk to those guys anymore. Occasionally I run into a guy, SEAL Team 6 guy, but you got to remember, we're all very, very secretive, right? I'm a very rare person out here revealing. So drug trafficking and U.S. Special Forces. So this is going to be basically where we're going to focus. So if you believe the military is above board and there's no way that they could do any of this type of stuff, then maybe this isn't the show for you. But if you're someone that wants to learn and see the bigger picture of what's going on, because this dark side of the military is also controlling our ascension, controlling us getting our country back, controlling our capability of influencing the world. Because if America goes down, the world goes down. So we have these elements within the military that are very dark, very, very negative. I've talked about this for a long time, how there's a whole different organization out there that's running the stuff, guys. Right. And I'm gonna try my best to point that out to you. All right. So drug trafficking in U.S. Special Forces. Journalist Seth Harp. So he did a show with Tucker Carlson. I'm gonna give you a little bit of that where he's talking. It's very revelatory. You're gonna want to go watch that if you want to go down this rabbit hole. This is quite a rabbit hole to go down, but very informative. Is something that we have to disclose. We have to uncover, because this is information war. So if you disclose information on a good level, like we're trying to do, then it collapses all this stuff. There doesn't need to be any kinetic activity. It's just like exposed. And these guys that are doing evil, they're like, oh, I won't do evil anymore. I'll go over and do the right thing. And really, a lot of times that would happen, right? Not every time, but with a lot of these people, they just do it because everybody else is doing it. They get some kind of benefit from it, whether they get some of the drugs, whether they get cash from the drugs, which I'm sure they're getting, or whatever they're getting, all right? Sex, whatever they're getting, right? You get whatever you want when you're involved in this stuff. All right, so President Trump recently threatened to use U.S. Special Forces to fight drug cartels in Mexico. So what does Scheinbaum say about that? I'm going to show you in a second. Scheinbaum is not so good about that, right? Scheinbaum has said, no, I'm not on board with that. So here she is right here. Let's see.
Now, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum says she is opposed to the U.S. military conducting operations in her country targeting drug cartels. Now, the comments were made in response to reports confirmed by U.S. officials that President Trump has directed the Pentagon to prepare options for the use of U.S. military force against cartels that have been designated as foreign terrorist organizations by his.
All right. So by doing that, he's taken away a lot of the cartels. The cartels are also involved with us. Obviously, there were cartels in Vietnam. There were cartels in Afghanistan. The biggest cartels in the world are in Afghanistan, right? It's insane. I thought that, hallelujah, we came in here, we stopped out this Taliban, and one of the big benefits is we stopped out the drug war. No, use the military again, start to run and take over that operation and start to run into America. And remember, we had a massive opium problem in the United States shortly after we went into Afghanistan. Right, so that's what it was from. And I know people. I've talked about this for well over a decade now. I know people are somewhat getting it. All right, but this is a bigger picture where you're seeing not just some guys that are running drugs, but you're seeing it all the way up the chain of command. All right, and I knew that was going on. They weren't in my chain of command because I was hunting terrorists, but there's another compartmentalized. They love to use the secretive stuff, guys. That's the way they can hide their operations. So that's one of the reasons why they built all these intelligence agencies, so they could hide all the corruption within these intelligence agencies. This is our box. Don't come over here and get in our box, or you could go to jail for getting in our box and disclosing stuff. And that's how they keep people out of these different intelligence boxes. So it's all secretive. You can't go into them unless you're authorized. So if you see something, you can't say something, right? And if you do, then you can face criminal charges and go to jail, or like we're finding out now, you could be killed. All right. So a lot of these guys. So this one journalist is talking about how there's been 24 homicides on Fort Bragg. On Fort Bragg, 24. And he says he could be, one or two on either side of that, but that's what he's been able to, collate and get information. Because of course, a lot of times this stuff is like, again, it's buried. It's buried. It's secretive. It's a Delta guy that was killed. Ooh, lock it down. Lock it down. Secret, right? So he's part of a homicide. He's part of drug trafficking. He does drugs. A lot of people within his organization do drugs, and all the way up to his chain of command are involved in it. Wow. So this is all being exposed. All right, so let's jump down this rabbit hole a little bit more. I got a lot for you today. I got, like always, I got some more for you. It's going to blow your minds open. You're not going to like it, but I've been trying to reveal this stuff for decades, right? I've been trying to reveal 9/11 for decades, for 25 years, quarter century. All right, so and I have been right from the time that the buildings crashed. Right, I was revealing. So the new American fellow Seth Hart found that members of the U.S. military elite that Trump wants to deploy have actually collaborated with cartels and narco trafficking schemes. So you're sending in the criminals to fight the criminals. It's not going to work out, right? So this is one of the reasons why we have to disclose this stuff and clean up this mess, and then make sure everybody's on the right side of this. It can happen. I was on the right side. Most of the guys I work with and the teams were on the right side, right? There were some that got off track, and usually they went away. We didn't let them stay in our organization. So here's the book, The Fort Bragg Cartel, Drug Trafficking and Murder in the Special Forces. So Harp investigates a string of unsolved, because it gets buried, murders at America's premier special operations. So I'm going to show you how this stuff is being, buried. And when you start to reveal this stuff, then you get killed. And I'm going to show that. So you guys might remember Pat Tillman. So I said Pat Tillman, the football player, I said almost right from the beginning, because I had been in Afghanistan. I knew the drug situation there. I knew how heavy duty people were involved in moving that stuff and involved in all this stuff. So when Pat Tillman was killed, I was like, that's very suspect. And at first they covered it over. He was killed in a firefight. And I was like, that's really a strange firefight for him to be killed in. It doesn't sound right to me. I bet he was killed. And then eventually it came out that he was shot in the back by one of the American weapons. So some of his own people killed him. So they called it friendly fire, but they didn't say that until later. They started to reveal that. And this is where McChrystal, General McChrystal and General Flynn and all those guys are involved in all this stuff. So I've been revealing this stuff for a long time. Now, Michael Hastings, who was the author, the Rogue Generals or something like that. I'll bring that up. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. I just want to give you the bigger picture of what's going on here. So Michael Hastings basically revealed that. Of course, Michael Hastings, his Mercedes, which is an extremely safe car. I've driven Mercedes in combat zones that were armored, and they worked very well. Mercedes, BMWs, because we know there's been other people that have died in fiery crashes, like Michael Hastings, like actor Paul Walker, right? So I think he was in a Porsche or high-end BMW or something, hit a tree, it blew up and burned up. Just like Michael Hastings' car, hit a tree, blew up, and he burned up. So, and heck, anyone, she hit a house, right? And it burned up, but she survived. They showed her being wheeled out on a gurney, and she sat up, and they pushed her back down, and then later she dies in a hospital. Now, Paul Walker, was involved in exposing child trafficking, right? And Heck was about ready to reveal a movie as well. And so there's all of this stuff, guys. All these people that are involved in all this stuff that die. So who was that one singer? Bennington, I think it was. Bennington. Chester Bennington. So Chester Bennington, he dies, and then there was another lead singer that died. Both of them were doing a movie on, because both of them had been, I believe, child pedophilia stuff. So they're revealing stuff on that, and they died very mysteriously. So this stuff is ongoing. See how big and how powerful these people are. They can kill these people off if they get out of line, right? They've tried to kill Mike several times. He's gotten out of line, but somehow the angels protect me, I guess. All right. Thank you, angels. All right. Attitude of gratitude. Always remember, be thankful for when you get saved. Right. All right. So how does corruption start? How did it get so deep? How did it happen so much? So he goes down a rabbit hole. He says, I learned in December of 2020, two special operation soldiers had been found murdered at a remote training range in Fort Bragg. All right. So he goes in, he talks about that, gives the details on that, gives the details on both of these guys. One of the guys was he was within, retiring, and they kicked him out of the military. He was a warrant officer, and they kicked him out because he was so corrupt. They finally was like, "You're not even going to get retired. We're not going to be associated with you." So they kicked him out, but they didn't, convict him of anything. So this guy's a hitman in the military, and he's a warrant officer, and he's involved in like drug trafficking with the cartels. And we're not talking like, just like little paper, little baggy dime stuff. We're talking like kilos of heroin and opium and cocaine and all that kind of shit. So I guess all the soldiers were doing it too. We're using these drugs. So yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how deep, how bad it is. All right, so here's the book. It'd be kind of cool to get this guy on. We probably have a good conversation. All right, so I could talk stuff because I got the special forces background. He needs that. He needs somebody to talk that. The Fort Bragg cartel, drug trafficking, and murder in the special forces. Because he keeps talking about this the SEAL teams and stuff like that. So he's a little bit off track on some of that stuff. I don't want him to give us too bad a name, right? So I want to clean some of that stuff up. So because there is some of that, he wasn't in special forces, but that doesn't mean he doesn't know the military, which he does. He served in Iraq. I think he was like deployed for like 500 something days. So and I look at how many. I was like, that's a drop in the bucket. How many times I deployed, not only in my SEAL career, but in combat zones as a contractor for the State Department and the CIA, mostly CIA. Right. So I would be gone like, pretty much 5 to 7, sometimes as much as 300 days a year involved in this stuff. So I'm in and out of combat zones. So they're talking about how one of these guys was in combat zones. He did 12 deployments. It's like, and that messed him up. Yeah, that happens. But I did the equivalent of like 5 times that. All right. So I'm okay. So, all right. So let's listen to some of this stuff that this guy, talks about. It's pretty. It's blowing the cover on this stuff. I've been trying to do this for a long time, and I'm glad this is coming out. Right. So yeah, this is on Tucker Carlson. It's 1 day ago it came out, and it's already got almost 4.5 million views. This is blowing up. You're going to want to watch this. You listen to this, and it's like wow, 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 wow. I'm going wow. So I know you guys are just going to be like super wow. All right, let's listen a little bit.
You must have spoken to people they knew, their friends. Mm-hmm. What is the prevailing theory among people who were there? I can't say that anybody purports to know for sure, but I would say the most common reflexive answer that you get from folks is that they think that they were murdered by elements of Delta Force, either rogue elements of the unit or the command itself. Now, I want to be very careful. Come on. I want to be very careful and say that.
All right. So even the command itself. So now he goes on and talks about that. For me, I would be like, what? It's like all the way up the, and I've worked, being a senior military guy, senior enlisted guy, I worked with all of my commanding officers very closely, right? And the senior, enlisted guys. So we had always a great relationship, right? So I can't begin to imagine that the upper echelon has been corrupted. But he says that there are people that are saying it is.
Have any evidence of that, and I don't pretend to. Is that the opinion of any Delta operators? Do you know? Funnily enough, yeah. One of the guys I talked to, a former Delta operator, seemed to find that. A former Delta officer seemed to find that perfectly plausible, which was disturbing to me. But it's bonkers. Again, it's not. If folks who read the book, they will see the direction in which I lean ultimately. And I don't want to spoil, the ending. But bottom line, strange case. Here's what we know. We know that Levine murdered a guy, got away with it. Obviously, his superior officers knew that. Command knew that. Was it widely known that he was a drug trafficker? It was widely known that he was a drug user. And yes, it was known that he was the guy that dealt drugs to his fellow operators. I mean, I talked to Mark Leshiger's family. So Mark and Billy, they were best friends. And so Mark's wife and his mom, even, they all knew Billy Levine. They had all spent time at his house. And they and many other witnesses, I interviewed lots of family members and friends of both of these men. They said that, you would go into Billy's house and there was just cocaine everywhere. And all his fellow operators from Delta Force were at his house too. There's a bunch of coke on the table. They're doing MDMA. They're even smoking heroin, and it's considered to be totally normal in this community. That's what to me was the most shocking to hear again and again. Like, not only to be told that all these guys are using drugs, but that people just seem to think that that's kind of what they do. Which I didn't know that. There's so many threats. I mean, the most obvious is the human effect of 12 combat deployments. So that's too much, obviously, and that will destroy you. It sounds like it destroyed Billy Levine. The second is, where's the Pentagon in this? This is the premier unit in the United States military. Mm-hmm. And people are openly using cocaine, smoking crack, and shooting their friends, and no one's doing anything about it. What is that? It's baffling to me. I would have never imagined. I mean,
all right, so possibly the reason why it's gotten this far out of control is to create one of these special operators at the Delta or SEAL Team 6 level, or even at the the Green Beret senior guys, senior people, officers enlisted in the Green Beret or in the SEAL Team, so forth. It's millions of dollars that go into that training. So there's a lot, and once one of those guys goes away, it's very difficult to replace them. Right, a very good operator. So if a good operator goes down a bad road, it sounds like maybe they have gone to the point where they know that guys are using drugs, just don't get caught, type thing, which is wrong, right? So I didn't use drugs, right? I didn't. So a lot of people say, well, the SEALs, and it was a different generation from mine. A lot of the younger guys started using what's that that party drug, ecstasy or whatever, and they started getting busted. So there were guys who were getting busted for ecstasy. I was one of the guys that did for a long time, that did the drug test. And you weren't going to cheat on those because I watched how that cup got filled, right? So that was my job. And so I would tell the guys, don't waste my time. Start drinking water right now. So when we go in there and you got to pee in the cup, you get it done, right? So I don't have to wait, right? So some guys are like all shy about it, whatever. It's like, just whip it out and do it. Come on. So most guys did, but there were some holdouts, and it's like, come on. But yeah. So are they still doing those drug tests indiscriminately, by surprise? Are they telegraphing when they're going to do the drug test now? So that could be happening in some commands. It could be happening, it sounds like, unfortunately, within the Army commands. I don't know about the SEAL teams. I hope not, but possibly. Why not? So if that's the case, then that needs to get cleaned, right? So once guys know they can't do drugs and get away with it, they're going to stop. It's that easy, right? It's the way it was when I was in. When I first got in, everybody was smoking marijuana. I smoked marijuana, and then they started to hammer down on it. And you couldn't do it. If you did it, you get caught, you're out. So a lot of guys got kicked out, and I'm like, I don't want to get kicked out. I like in the Navy. So I stopped doing that. I just drank, which is probably just as bad. A lot of guys became alcoholics, but and stayed alcoholics. Once that's probably one of the tougher ones to get stopped. So yeah, the addictions and drug use and alcohol abuse and all that kind of stuff is is fairly prevalent. And some of those organizations, I would say, not extreme, but it is there. Some guys do it and get away with it. Some guys get caught. Some guys, I don't know. It's a thing, right? So you have to clean it, and that's the way it was when in the early days of the military, there was like a aircraft that came in on a aircraft carrier, and it crashed, and they found out the guys that were like, guiding it in, they're all like hammered or whatever on drugs. So they, from that point on, the admiral of the Navy is like, bam, right, drug test everybody. So there was a big purge. A lot of people, up and down the chain of command, got kicked out. And after that, everybody's like, okay, they're serious about this. No more, no more partying while at work, right? So that stopped, and that was a good thing. So that's seems to be it's crept back in, and now it's crept in. It sounds like to a very bad level, a level that's very not only corrupt but dangerous. Not only dangerous for the military personnel, but also for obviously the rest of America or humanity, wherever this stuff is going on. So, like I said, it was going on in Vietnam. It was been going on for a long time. Probably every war, I would imagine. Now, Pat Tillman, like I told you guys, I called that one long ago. That was a that he was murdered, right? I still believe that. They're still going to fight that. I don't know if that'll ever be proven. Who knows? Maybe the people that murder, maybe they've already been murdered too. I don't know. One of those guys, they did an interview with him, and I saw that guy do the interview. I was like, that guy is like guilty as hell. And then everybody that saw that interview said the same thing in the comments. I was like, wow, I can't believe they put this. He had no remorse for killing Pat Tillman. And I was like, that guy, yep, he's bad to the bone, criminal. All right, so let me show you just a little. I just want to show you, what they do. They got all these Martin Luther King roads and schools and all that kind of stuff. The CIA killed him, and then they build all these roads to him, and it's like they joke it. They joke it, Kennedy, all there used to be so many Kennedy schools and everything. Maybe there still are, but John F. Kennedy schools, they were just everywhere. Kennedy roads, everything. Not as much now. They kind of faded away. Martin Luther King, maybe not so much as it used to be, but that's the way they do this. So they did this with Pat Tillman. Look at this. Look at this statue right here. You don't need to hear the sound. This is his mom talks about. She believes that he was murdered. I believe I'm correct on that. And if I'm putting words in her mouth, so right here, Pat Tillman's mother recalls command blunders behind ex-Cardinal safety's death. So you guys might not remember, but Pat Tillman basically had a multi-million-dollar contract with the Cardinals, the Cardinals? Arizona Cardinals. So he went to Arizona State. So this is in this statue. They made it in Arizona State. Now this is a freaky statue. Look at the statue. What the hell? So that looks like something out of hell. Why would they do that to him? Well, we know why. Because they were part of killing him, I believe. Right? So that's very unfortunate. All right, so let's look at when Pat Tillman was killed in Afghanistan April 22nd, 2004. The news stunned his fellow Americans. He died at age 27. He rose he's probably going to go to Delta, probably going to be a Delta operator. He was on the road to that. So, I mean, a stud, you know. He blew off a Arizona Cardinal for 3 years, $3.6 million. That was a lot of money back then. Now it's like whatever. Today, that would probably be like 30 million, whatever. So he always wanted to try to do the right thing. Does that sound like a guy that would get involved in the drug trafficking? No. And that's probably what got him killed, in my opinion. All right. So he was in Afghanistan. They were like, got involved in a firefight. So it says platoon mate Brian O'Neill and allied Afghan militiaman Saeed Farhad fired a situate about 10 feet in front of Tillman and was armed with an AK-47. That's basically what Afghan fighters used. And then, of course, Tillman, he's a big guy like me. He had heavy weapons. I always carried a heavy weapon, so good job, Tillman. So let's look at some of this stuff. On April 28th, 2004, the military's Joint Special Operations Commander, then Brigadier General Stanley McChrystal, approved awarding the Silver Star posthumously for Tillman's heroism. The citation said Tillman died under devastating enemy fire. Died under devastating enemy fire. So it goes on to talk about, so they knew. So McChrystal knew within hours of this death that it was friendly fire, but still let it go forward that it was, enemy fire. So testifying at a 2007 congressional hearing, Kevin Tillman said, "Through the amazing strength and perseverance of my mother, the most amazing, our family has managed to have multiple investigations conducted. However, while each investigation gathered more information, the mountain of evidence was never used to arrive at an honest or even sensible conclusion." They were covering it up. Four investigations by the military laid out much of what happened. The first cited those involved for gross negligence for what was termed a likely friendly fire incident. Subsequent probes escalated the seriousness of failures. Like they killed him. That's escalation, right? Failures higher up the chain of command. The final investigation, completed in 2007, recommended disciplinary action against 9 officers, including 4 generals. Yet many questions remain about the decisions, the obfuscation, and the culpability, prompting Congress to get involved. So none of these people, and this is his mom, doing all the investigation, poor woman. So, he got caught in a very bad situation. And he probably discovered that they were probably doing a drug deal or whatever. And he's basically said, "I'm going to tell," and they shot him. That's the way I think it probably went down. Maybe it was something different, but that's the way these usually go down, right? So that's basically, how that ran. So, I've done a lot of investigation on this, and that's the conclusion I came to. All right, they killed him, they covered it up, and they're still covering it up, and they're not going to change. You're going to have to put them on a waterboard, bamboo their fingernails or whatever. So they're not going to talk. They're not going to talk, guys. They're not going to give it up, because if they give it up, then they all die, right? All right, so Stanley McChrystal, let's go down that rabbit hole just a bit. If you look at the Runaway general, the profile that brought down McChrystal by Michael Hastings, Rolling Stone profile. So it talks about them. And so I remember, because I was in Afghanistan during this time frame, and I remember these guys came in. I was like, all right, they got the heavy duty guys coming in. They're going to just wipe this place out. It should have been done long ago. What the heck is taking so long? And they came in and it drug on. And I was like, these guys are corrupt. And sure enough, they got exposed. They got exposed by this reporter. So here's a little commentary in the book and in this article in Rolling Stone. What's the update on the Kandahar bombing, McChrystal asked Flynn. The city has been rocked by 2 massive car bombs. All right, so Flynn is the intelligence officer. So Flynn obviously knew about, this crazy firefight where friendly fire, killed one of their soldiers that gets killed. So Flynn, the intelligence guy, advises McChrystal. All right, so the city has been rocked by 2 massive car bombs in the past day alone. I wonder if either of these guys even ever met Tillman or even knew him. Probably not. All right, calling into question the general's assurances that he can wrest it from the Taliban. So yeah, he came in and he was like, we're going to take this down. We're going to control this thing. No, they're keeping it going because they're doing the drug trafficking. They're running the drug trafficking. We have 2 key KIAs killed in actions, but that hasn't been confirmed, Flynn says. McChrystal takes a final look around the suite. At 55, he's gaunt, lean, blah, blah, blah. So he paints a picture of McChrystal, and it's not pretty. All right, so I remember Hastings was talking about how colonels, I think it was a lieutenant colonel and colonel whatever, they were at a bar and they're all drinking, and so he's interviewing all of them, and one of them tells him, you're not going to talk bad about us, are you? Because if you do, that's not going to work out real good for you. So they're kind of joking him. They're kind of joking him, right? No, they weren't joking him. He ended up, he went bye-bye. All right. Once that book came out, he was gone. They killed him. No question about it. All right. So Michael Hastings died at age 33. 33. All right. And so let's look at some of this. WikiLeaks revelations raise new questions about the death. Who killed Michael Hastings? So Michael Hastings, shortly before his death, was saying that he felt that they were coming for him, right? So he told friends that. So look at this. Coroner family linked Michael Hastings to drug use. So the character assassination. So they come in and do a character assassination. Michael Hastings, 33-year-old crack investigative reporter, Rolling Stones, dies in a fatal fiery crash. Who killed him? Who killed him? It's probably we've had on some of those guys who talk about how they're part of the assassin teams. So assassin team basically put some kind of bomb device in his car that basically look at the images. This is his car burning. So there are pictures out there. You're probably not going to find them now, but he was actually sitting. I don't know if that's it right there, but he was in his car burned to a crisp. So again, this is a Mercedes. So just like those other fiery crashes that we talked about, it just bumps into a tree, just rolls along and bumps into a tree. No, high speed, it hits the tree. Didn't really do anything. I mean, the palm tree is still there. Look at it. Palm tree palm tree is fine. But the engine blows up the street like an explosive charge went off. So the engine of the Mercedes, why would the engine blow up the street when it runs straight into a tree? The momentum is going into the tree, but the engine blows up the street for yards up the street. And then he burns alive in a car. I mean, you plow into we've seen a lot of people like plow into something, and the airbag goes off, and somebody comes along, helps you out of there. All right. Unless the front of the car, slams up into your legs. I actually came up on a car accident one time. A guy had run straight into a dump truck, and the front of his car had crushed all the way up to his waist. You couldn't even see his legs or anything. And I thought the guy was dying in front of me. So I ran over to the guy in the truck, the dump truck, and it was like leaking, fuel everywhere. And the guy was like laying across, and he was like, "Oh, my back, oh, my back." I was like, "Dude, you better get out of here. This thing is leaking fuel. We might burn up." So he jumped right up and got out of there. So much for that back pain. But yeah, that guy eventually died because the legs, they've got a system now. Well, they'll put a thing around your waist, and it pumps up and it holds your blood. So before they do pull you away from the thing, and then people bled to death almost instantly. But now they have a device that basically does a pump, and it keeps the blood so it doesn't rush out of the body. So people survive these big crashes now. So and there's so many of them. It's crazy. I have a lot of stories about that. Right? It's bad stories, but and people dying, unfortunately. So and alive, people are alive, and then this guy was alive. He was unconscious. He had hit the steering wheel, and his collarbone was sticking out, and his face was smashed, and blood running down his face. But he was still alive, and they pulled him. They pulled the wreck away from his lower legs, and he died right away. I was actually filling out a report for the police, and while I was pulling out, the helicopter landed in a field next to where the accident was, and the fire department was there, and they're like, in the jaws of life, and got him out. And the police officer came over to me and said, "You don't need to fill that out anymore. He's gone." So it's like, okay. So I got a nice write up on my evaluation. I was a SEAL Team 6 then, and they thought I was late, and they were like all pissed at me. And I told them what happened. They're like, "Oh shit!" And so they wrote me up and gave me a nice award. So it was cool. So, but yeah, not so much for Michael Hastings. All right, so he burned alive, like a lot of other people that pissed them off, deep staters. They have ways, right? So he's gone. And I'm still here. I talk about all this stuff. Yeah, I don't want to joke them too much, but because they don't like that. They don't like that. I do joke them, right? So because I know they don't like it, and so it's like near. You ever do that to a kid? You get your sister to scream at you, or if you're a girl, get your brother to scream at you, and then they get in trouble. Right? Nanner. So that's what's happening in deep state. I'm nanner them, and they're going to get in trouble. They're going to go down. So Kandahar Giant. Yeah, Kandahar Giant. Yeah, that was real. SEALs took that guy out, the big guy, right? So that's there's so many crazy things out there, right? But some things we can fix, and one of those things is our military that's gotten off track. Now, some of them have gotten so off track, they're probably going to have to be executed, right? Go to Guantanamo, get trialed, and go bye-bye, right? And that'll open the door for less corruption, and then a better military. At some point, the military goes away because we don't need wars anymore, because the wars are created by the deep state, right? Because you ask, like me, you ask most veterans, and we say, war's a racket. It's a bullshit racket. And they use us. Yeah. So not so good. Not so good. Now, there are some times where you got to use the military, of course, like to take down the deep state. All right. So, and arrest those people and make sure that the cartel that's here in the United States doesn't get out of control. So that's what President Trump is trying to do. He's trying to go use the good military, and infiltrated within that good military is probably going to be a few baddies, right? But use that military to start to go outside and stop the drug trafficking, because there's so much corruption. There's so much money made through the drug trafficking. Of course, the human trafficking is another one, and the military is involved in that one too. They've busted all kinds of people along the border from different bases, enlisted guys that go down and pick up people and then drive them into the U.S. Lots of military guys been caught doing that, and it goes right up to the top of their chain. They're involved in it too. So human trafficking, drug trafficking, of course, the weapon trafficking thing is not so prevalent anymore. They've kind of cracked down on that to a certain extent. But for the most part, we clean that up. We clean up America. We clean up the corruption. I would say you need like good former special forces, joint special operation command guys that basically go in and take out the top 1,000, 2,000 people in politics and get them out, right? But you have to be careful, like I'm talking about. You have to make sure you're not getting the drug traffickers, all right? Because we got them infiltrated all the way up into the general staff level guys, all right? So they're the good guys like myself know who they are. And even though I tell you who they are, you still don't want to believe it. All right. So many people. All right, guys. That's all I got for now. It's another part of taking down the deep state, taking out, because they use the military. Our military is used all around the world by the deep state to basically take out all these countries, control these countries, use our taxpayer money to build up these countries, and they use that to basically enrich themselves, right? And those people in those countries, they become slaves, right? They think they're getting a better deal. They just get a nicer dress, right, or a nicer pair of shoes, but they're still just as bad off, just as enslaved, right? So, yep, we got a lot of work to do, and there's a lot of people to expose. A lot of people are doing it. Do your own due diligence, do your own research, critical thinking, and so forth. Start watching a little bit closer, all these different people. So you heroize these people, and then they come in and they get away with murder, right? In a lot of different ways. So I've been calling out some of these people you call heroes, but you still want to call them heroes. You don't want to believe, all right? So you need to start to pay attention. Some of these guys that are out there are working us, all right? All right, guys, lots of love. Stay in love vibration, and I'll see you guys next time.